James and Allan speak with Barbara Haig and the real Sonny Murray at Social Bites Edinburgh. Talk is cheap. Let's talk.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you're watching or whenever you're listening. So Allan and I are sat here today in Social Bite in Edinburgh to speak to, as you heard, Barbara Haig and the real Sonny Murray. We're trying to get a wee bit on Social Bite's identity, find out who they are, what they're all about, to put it out in the podcast. I think most people know by now because it's quite a big organisation. Sonny's got quite a great story that I wanted to add to the podcast the minute I met him, because we come in here, we did a thing with Allan's trauma-informed art, Barbara organised that. Sonny gave us a wee speech at that I was fascinated by, and I thought, I've got to get this guy's story. And to let you understand why I do these things, right, I don't know why I do a podcast. I just felt I've always wanted to do one. It just feels right. It's like him with his hieroglyphic doodles. He feels that's right, and that's how he puts. I see these podcasts as your story. I then get to put that on a bookshelf, and if somebody's got similar pain and agony or trauma in their life, they grab that bookshelf off, read it, watch it, listen to it, and think, right, I'm not going to fucking make that mistake. Same with his doodles. If somebody sees in that, you know, a path or an error or whatever, then they might choose to go a different path. Allan's actually done a doodle years ago, and I was like, that's me, because it's a wee mouse, and he's putting fucking books on shelves. And I thought, well, that relates to this podcast. Anyway, I'm going to get you guys on the camera. Enough about me and why I do this. So I'll go first to you, Sonny. Introduce yourself. What's your name? Where'd you come from? Right. Oh, hang on.
Let me do the first one. See the title, The New Sonny. Is it the new Sonny Murray?
I'd like to think to myself as like a different person from what I was 10 years ago.
So this is the newest version of the individual that is Sonny.
I am definitely a different person. Before I started, I got the opportunity with Social Bite and stuff, and I just grabbed that with both hands and just try to build myself up for there. So I would like to think of myself as a new person now.
That's all I wanted to know, because James slipped and called you the real Sonny, and I thought, no, it's the new one. And that's that evolution, individuality, is that it's the newest version of you. That's great.
Look, if Puff Daddy can do it and P. Diddy or whatever,
exactly,
Sonny can do it.
That's what my title. I fully embrace the being just another monkey, because I'm the same as everybody else. I may do things differently. I might see things, hear things. But ultimately, I'm just another monkey. So this is the ultimate version, and I love the evolution of anything. So I didn't agree with Wurzel Gummidge. I can't change my mind. I can alter my thoughts and become the new version.
And hanging about with him, I've fucking developed a fascination for fucking
you.
monkeys.
I've never swore.
I said I wasn't going to swear.
We've
honestly.
left in jail.
Well, what can I say?
I think it's a good point that, you know, I think when people reinvent themselves and they want to be a newer version, I think it's great that you can rename yourself. You can
rebrand yourself.
You can do it whichever way that you want to make a stand and say, this is the best version of myself just now.
Because it closes that old baggage down and says, no. It's like you're saying with the poster boys, poster girls, whoever it is, when they walk into a room, it's, oh, who's that? Oh, that's Sonny. Sonny done that, and that's it. No. That's Sonny. That's it. Then you go adding any baggage on, because the whole point of the journey is to shed the load, and then, ta-da, this is me. This is what you get. Then you go looking, you know, can we peel back a layer and see what's under the who's that? So it's perfect. I love the new. It's good.
So who is the new Sonny Murray then? Tell us.
Well, I still always like to think I'd stick up for homeless people. And just doing, like, I was doing up at Glen Eagles last week, like, talks and stuff, sticking up for homeless people.
See, that's a good one, but nobody else, if anybody's watching this, they'll know that you were the main man that got the standing ovation at Glen Eagles with all these people.
I know.
With Amy McDonald singing her songs for you and all that.
Well, just being given the opportunity, doing things like that is amazing, because
what an opportunity.
10 years ago, I don't think somebody like me would have got an opportunity like that, to be honest. So,
and do you, everything that you've achieved within that 10 years, now we had the chat with your flat and everything else, all the stuff that I already know about yourself, would you say that Social Bite just being bang, that took you straight to Glen Eagles?
Well, obviously I did ball myself up for a while, but just knowing I've always got that support of people like Bob.
That's what I mean. Was that the initial one that says to you?
Oh, definitely. It's social way basically gave me the first chance to change myself. Like other employers and that, knowing if you were homeless and a heroin addict, they wouldn't want to touch you.
Label, badge.
They wouldn't want to touch you.
It's difficult as an employer to, when you look at HR policies and all of that, for us to turn around and say we employ people that are in recovery for substance use, they've got to be on their meth, they've got to be, working towards whatever, going to their meetings or whatever it may be. And, to a lot of people, it was like, you're doing what? Or it's similarly homeless. When we're employing homeless. But Sonny was the crazy guy that stepped forward and says, I'll take it on I'll take one for the team and do a lot of talking stuff. But little did he know he was going to be on stages and travelling all over the place doing talking events and stuff.
Because there wasn't just Glen Eagles. You were doing in Wales, given... And is it getting across? Is the message getting out there?
Oh, definitely. As the years go on, I've well noticed people's perceptions and the homeless people has totally changed. Like a lot of people think more about it because things like social bites done with the sleep in the park things and that. Because me and a few of the other homeless guys and lassies, we got to speak at them as well. So just tell them our stories and stuff, and they were all different. You know what I mean? A lot of people were homeless because they drink and alcohol, like myself, or just.
But you threw yourself into it. It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of courage to be able to sit in a green room, to go out on stage in front of people, and it's the amount of different type of speaking events you've done has been really great, and a lot of the time is off the cuff, not really rehearsed.
You can't.
There's times that has been, and it's been really sort of structured because you're wanting to put something specific across. But it's just really good that you're reliable. That there's always some sort of material that you can pull on.
Yeah, I like the tangibility side because you can see him. You can feel, again, it's like looking at a picture, but you're a walking, talking picture. So the room might be, no putting them down saying they're all stuffy people, but they can read, they can hear, they can watch things, and what time's tea? But when you arrive and you're hang on a minute, this isn't just a tent, this isn't sleeping out, this is somebody that's actually done it, so they can give you the true version. And I think that's, to me, the truth. It outweighs hypocrisy because hypocrites will be like, yeah, we do something or we'll do that. No. Have you ever actually listened to the story? Oh, because again, it's that same thing. It's the homeless person. Why are they homeless? Oh, it's a drug addict. Why are they drug addicts? It's going that extra bit. And I think Sonny's story,
and I think it
lets you see.
I think south of the border is significantly different from the attitudes north of the border. I've noticed that, some of the conversations that we're having all those years ago to say we've got a mission to end homelessness. It's a social issue. It's solvable. We can do this. And, we were up against services that have been working in that field for a lot of years, thinking, where did these guys come from? It's almost like people get that institutionalised. That becomes a norm, and it's normal. Like we were not making it normal. And I've always said that about food banks as well. Now it looks like there's new things coming into play where there's going to be more money available, so they're going to shut food banks down. I've been saying that for the get-go. So there's nothing to be proud of. It shouldn't be normalised that there's food banks, and it's the same with homelessness. It's like, it's okay. We're okay with people lying on the streets or in temporary accommodation. But I think with Social Bite, we've really highlighted different areas yet, so it's no just people in sleeping bags.
It's same when I do my tours as well, James. So, you get a lot of people that want to come on the tours because they know it's run by ex-homeless people visiting cities, and obviously we're in a few cities now, but I do it in Edinburgh and Glasgow sometimes. But I really like telling them, changing their perceptions of homeless people and telling them why I was homeless. And when I first started with Social Bite, I was only DTTO and that, so I had to go to appointments and stuff, and the other employer and the planner's going, right, you go and do things like that, go and get your prescription every day for the chemist, things like that. And that was a big, massive part of me rehabilitating myself with Social Bite. Give me that chance, basically.
And see, on what you're saying there, Sonny, are you happy to share your story on this podcast today?
Of course, I don't mind.
Could you take us right back then? Let's go right back before Social Bite. Your path, your story, where you come from, probably what you've been preaching at all these events and stuff like that. But your side,
Well, I'd always had houses now when I was growing up, and I was born in Glasgow, so...
Let's go right back there. The bairn, the young, you're born, where you lived.
Basically, I was born in Glasgow, and me and my two brothers and my mum, dad, and that stayed in like a family environment, basically. And we had a nice house and that. My mum, dad's, were respectable parents and stuff like that. But my dad's boss killed his full family and then held us all hostage and held my mum hostage for about 4 hours or something. Right. So it really played well heat and stuff. And then armed police and that come in and put guns to his head, and they spent the rest of his time in prison, basically.
Right. But, so you at that young age witnessed that as well?
I was only 9 months or something. I was only a baby when it happened. My mum just said when he was swinging a big scalpel hanging about trying to kill everybody, she just jumped on top of me, so when he got slashed straight like that. But obviously I can't remember it in the hand, but obviously I just tried to put my mum in my mum's position having to be, and sitting and talking to him and he tell her what he'd done and that, showed her the scalpel and stuff. So I'm just, my mum keeping him calm and all, and knowing he just killed his whole family. He could easily have killed her family, you know what I mean? Then she had to put up with all that, so she started taking drugs and things like that, and then my dad split up, then she got into another relationship with my stepdad, and he was quite violent and alcoholic and stuff, so my mum went through quite a lot of domestic abuse and stuff. Then we moved away from Glasgow through to West Lothian, and me and my brother got put in care and stuff like that, children's homes.
What age were you when you were out of care?
10. 1990.
And what was your brother? Was he older or younger?
It was me and my brother Leon. He's a year older than me, so he would have been 11. My other brother Grant, he would have been about 14 or something at the time, and he was in a children's home. So we were all kind of in care, but me and my brother, we were in Edinburgh, so 2 Glaswegians and a Edinburgh children's home.
I mind you saying that'd be tough.
Wasn't much fun to start with. But, excuse me, after a while, everything was alright, but we got quite abused in that children's home, so we got barred quite a lot and called wee Ouija bastards and that on a daily basis.
And is that just for the other occupants?
No, that's just for the staff.
Staff as well.
Like, big guys about your size and that, you know what I mean? And we're like wee boys, but that's that size getting slapped about and that. We didn't even get barred when we were in Marine House, you know what I mean? And getting brought up with all violence and poverty and stuff. And
well, you've got to go the extra half mile to get a good doing.
Well, I've got a claim in called Survivors of Rights, well it's called. So like people who got abused in children's homes and that when they're younger. So I had that going for about the last 2.5 years or something, so hopefully I'll hear something of that soon.
And that's definitely going to relate in it to a few of the listeners, that's for sure. Sorry,
I know a few myself that have done that same thing, and I still have massive envy because although they will put their hand up and say, okay, right, we got it wrong here, there's a big orange and a bag of chips, that'll make it all better. No, I want to know how these people are still getting salaries. Some of them will be getting pensions where they were paid to do a job and they clearly failed in that fucking job. But the system will not put its hand up and stand out front where everybody else will go under the bus, but they'll know. They'll just try and pay it off. And that's my biggest thing, is that for you to accept money, I think you deserve every penny because it should never have happened. But that money comes from somewhere.
Well,
so they'll give you money though, Sonny, to try and appease you and make you go away, and that'll be it. It's all done and dusted. Look at us. We've done the right thing. We've realised we made a fuck up and we're made a bit. But there'll be a community centre that's just lost its funding to pay for you and everybody else, and you think, you shivery bastards. I would be wanting to go back and say, right, okay, for the years that Sonny was in your system, each one is to a salary, I want that money back. That's fraud because you weren't doing your fucking job. It really
one of them
pisses me off.
My brother, specifically, he got slapped right across the face with one of them, and he was about the size of you guys, and my brother's obviously just a young boy, 11-year-old. The only reason he got suspended because there was a police officer and
so the guy actually got witness.
Because the police officer gave him his due. Me and Paulus have not really had a good relationship, but that's where one Paulus was brilliant, a brilliant guy. A big guy Neil for Balerno police station used to work at. He made sure he got suspended. Basically, he was like, I seen him slapping him right across the face.
I know some absolute horror stories. I mean, the worst of the worst, which it isn't my place to tell their story. I'd love that person to tell their story and they know exactly who they are. But because they're in the exact same boat as you just now, and I will do everything I can to G them up to say, listen, this was never your fault, never your responsibility. Just keep going.
See, I think because a lot of things that's happened in my life, because I'm not blaming that for everything that's happened in my life. I've got to take a lot of responsibility for the things I've done myself. But when I came out of the children's homes and I got put in a residential school, so I was still in care basically, St Joseph's School in Trinent, and I used to just go home at weekends to my mum's, so I'd go to school during the week and stuff. Then when I left there at 16, my ex was pregnant, so we got a house in Wester Hill, so I was 16 with 1 month, and then I had a wean basically. Wow. So, and I worked in Edinburgh Zoo and that for about three odd years, so I still was getting to see my way up to I was 10-year-old, so I just through the years and stuff, but I moved through Airdrie, Coatbridge, things like that, moved through that way for a bit, and that's where my other boy Allan lives now. So a lot of bad things I think was being in care and things like that, just a lot of things growing my head and stuff like that.
But you can recognise that, because it's something that I've been going over the last wee while, is the doors. And each door that you go in, you try and close that door, but you'll find another one. And then by the time you get to the end and discover the new Sonny, has Sonny went back and opened each one of these doors? Because if he did, he'd get back to the care system. And if you can't hold down a relationship, and that's why you've got kids to different parents, different mothers, and you can't hold things down. I know you've had your flat for a long time, so there is a new Sonny in there. But do you think that each one takes you back to something that you didn't have trust? You lack trust in everybody because of that. That's my thing, is how do you get back? My own personal journey would be, if it was you, I would take you by the hand and we would see all the doors, and I would smash every one of the doors in to get right back to the original Sonny, the very first one, when everything was happy. Although I know you know the baggage of your mum and the stories that what she went through to look after you when you were wee, being in that situation, that's no really part of your journey, although you are carrying weight for that. Mm-hmm. So when you go into that care system and then you start getting slapped about and punched about, that's where Sonny stops and this newer version starts, because I've always saw that the mind splits into two. Well, so you go to survive.
The system and that.
Of course you will. You're saying that your relationship with the police, because the police are part of the system. You'll probably be the same when you go to a doctor that's very abrupt with you. You'll be the same if you go into the prison system as well. Education system.
2 weeks ago, so he was trying to charge me £40 for a daft letter. I was like, I'm paying £40 for a letter, you know what I mean? They just don't even listen to you, and then
they're not designed to listen to you.
Because I have these seizures with epilepsy and stuff, and then I forget things, so I kept forgetting to go and see these neurologists up at the hospital. Then,
but ironic.
That's what I tried to say to them. I was like, that's part of my condition. I forget things, you know what I mean? I was like, so from now on, can you send a letter to my boss in Visible Cities, Zach, and she'll remember me.
They can remind you.
Exactly,
yeah.
So Zach reminds me in that now, so I had to make a complaint to the health board and everything just to get to see a neurologist again. I was like, I'm only 40-odd-year-old and I'm walking about the street, not knowing what I'm doing, getting robbed at cash points and things like that, you know what I mean?
But you think they would be saying, what's going to work for you to ensure that you come to appointments? There's something going on here.
But that's
obviously it's a brain doctor, it's like there's been things happening and they know that he's absent-minded.
Right, okay, there's 40 quid a fine for the letter, because you forgot to go to the guy that's going to help you to stop forgetting.
He's taking seizures. What's the symptoms of seizures? Forgetfulness. Come on, I mean. Let's hit him for 40 quid system.
The money will remind you.
When I tried to apply for PIP a few years ago, and then this was during like COVID and that, and so it was like a over the phone interview, and I could hear her telling her Wayne's and that in the background, be quiet and that, and she had mute for 7 minutes. And then I got no points. She tried to say I had a good memory. I was like, who were you interviewing? You know what I mean? They weren't interviewing me. Like, last time I thought my mum was still alive and everything. I'm on my way to Haymarket. This was about 3-4 months ago, to go and visit her. And I was like, what am I doing?
And is that after a seizure?
I was still had a seizure, but I knew it before that. And I was like, my man's dead. And then I had to like sit down and started crying and that. It was like horrible.
Like it all coming back at the same thing. That's weird.
So I think there we got you up to about 16. So 16, where did you go after that? 16.
Wester Hills.
Aye, no, you see, it was in Wester Hills. Turned 16, baby,
for about,
the zoo.
19 or something.
Right.
I split up with my ex. Well, I was going out there since I was 14 to 19, 5 years old. Then I moved back to my mum's from Bathgate.
Right.
And I started just getting out of trouble and that, selling drugs and selling ecstasy tablets and things like that, and just. But before I forget, I'm going to say this, and if there's young people listening to this, we're taking ecstasy and cocaine and that all my life, and it gives you a high and that. I've never had a better high than I did last week at Glen Eagles when everybody stood up and gave me a standing ovation. That's been better high than any cocaine or ecstasy.
So tell, cameras on you the new, you tell that 16-year-old, 15, 14, 13-year-old that story then.
Sonny, it's maybe a good at the time, but when you get older, you'll realise it's not worth it. Your health, if you've not got your health, you've not got none. So I'm more concerned about my health nowadays, so remember that.
But then, for years people are like, oh, you should, chase a natural high. Yeah. But what does that really mean to people?
Yeah.
A natural high. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, that sounds.
Why do we feel the need to get high?
Why do we want to be high? A weekend?
Yeah. I didn't get that. Never got that. Never got the. I still struggle with it nowadays, and there's still guys that are doing the exact same thing. So the point of having to alleviate yourself by getting high to alter your mind state, it's just the reality of the social side of life. Is it's shite. So you alleviate it. You do something. You want to escape it. You want to hide from it. That's where the doors thing always works for me, because you didn't want to face the door. The door will rattle. So you might have been through in Bathgate, but you've still got the memories of the homes and the abuse that happens in there. But somebody will say to you, listen, see that door over there? It's Barry. You didn't even remember any of that. Magic, let's do it. It'll last for 3 hours, but 4 hours later, it's back again. So you go back to the door, and that's where the addiction comes in, because it's not the addiction to feeling high, it's addiction escaping the reality that's behind door number 1, which takes you to your Matthew Kelly. Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be somebody different because I can't handle that person who you want me to be.
But that's a full-time job. It's a full-time job when you think about the layers and layers upon trauma and trauma and trauma on top of trauma, and your body and how that responds and reacts to trauma. I know for myself, whenever there's been trauma in my life, or I've not got a good resilience. There's been times I've been totally unaware that there's been a trauma. It's not until something's triggered, that you're like, holy shit, what's happening in my stomach? It's almost like something's bubbling up and that tension in there. And it's like almost like your body releases it. So until your body says it's time for you to look at this trauma now, it'll hold on to it. It'll keep it in that behind that door, and then it'll take something. But it's almost like you're ready to look at this now. It's almost like your body knocking at the door and saying, you're ready to look at this now.
It knocks you on your ass.
But I think it's amazing just how much people are able to stay standing up.
Oh, aye, but it's that balance of carrying all this weight, all this extra stuff that doesn't belong to you. So every trauma that you get was my idea of creating a prison inside my head, and that's, I was saying that to Sonny. When you're in the house, you're in your cell. Your cell, you're in the prison, you're there, you're in the 4 walls, you're confined in there with the darkness. But if you're in the hall, and that door there, cell number 1, holds the child abuse, cell number 2 holds the relationship failure and and then the courts and the crime and everything else.
It's the consequence. It's what you end up doing to avoid.
Each one leads
all these other areas.
The old woman that swallowed the fly.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how we don't talk about trauma, and I love this type of thing that you're doing.
But that's
because they're saying that 1% of the world population has not experienced trauma. So I only really think they got that 1% because they couldn't say every single person in this world is going to at some point face trauma. But it's really interesting individually how people face it.
Yeah.
And some people never. You know, you look at, we've got great examples of how therapies came about and how they became popular just after World War I because of trauma. Because they've been in the trenches, because of what they've seen and what they've experienced, and through all these different experiences and how people hold and live with trauma, or Holocaust victims. Some people have never ever spoken. So people can go their whole existence building up these traumas and they just do not speak about it.
That's the big one.
And it's really good to, and I think it's really healthy for things like this to be able to say it's actually okay to talk. Yeah. Because everybody has experienced trauma, but it's just getting that permission to say this is going to happen to everybody. I'm sorry. It's like we all know that we're all going to die. We're born. We know that there's one thing in life that's going to happen. It's guaranteed. So there's another guarantee. The other guarantee is there's going to be trauma, but nobody teaches anybody about that. What it might look like, how it can maybe come about, the consequences if you don't deal with it at the time. But at the time, and if you're a kid, there's no way you can deal with that in that head.
No,
you've got to store it away. You've got to store it away.
That's where the cell begins. You start forming this cell, and as soon as you can coax this demon, this trauma, whatever it is that has happened, into there, you shut that door and fuck me, you didn't go near that door. Anything will trigger that door and what's behind the door. But then you start creating it bigger and bigger, and that's how you end up with it, Pinky and Perky. You've got the trauma victim. You've also got the trauma survivor, and what's the difference? You'll never see the survivor because they don't show it, and that's where they'll go their whole life never talking about it. That's no good to the guy who could educate himself by thinking, oh, so if I go into the care system and the big bully guy slaps the other guy, I'm going to tell him, then he go in there, watch him, he's this, he's that. But we didn't. So people keep blindly walking off.
It's crazy. It's like a whole world of denial because, I'm hearing, it's interesting, I was working with somebody and they were at court and the sheriff had said to them, I know you. And the sheriff knew this guy from years ago for when he was younger, and it was the guy had suffered significant trauma. And the sheriff was like, and here you are in my court. And there was just something about this was a court system starting to acknowledge the people that were coming into courts every day had significant traumas, and they were there working through that significant trauma because the father was in court, right? Because the mother was in court, so they're seeing this generational stuff and they know the stories. Yeah. So courts can't deny it anymore.
Nope.
Yeah. They can't deny that this is happening in our communities, and they're starting to have these conversations and be more trauma informed. And say, well, what the hell is going on that we're having people repeating offending?
That's where they step in.
We need to be looking at, people's health. No coming in front of me because they've committed crime. We need to, it's too almost late. Like it's like
that's
it's
too late. That's stage 5.
The horse is bolted.
Yeah. That's where I love I know that it works for a lot of people, but the 12-step process, to me, when we heard for the one fella, step 4 is admitting to the things that you've done. Unfortunately, a young Sonny, an 8-year-old going into the care system, to then be abused, and whatever happens beyond there, to form the character that comes out the other side, that breaks the law, that ends up in drugs and ends up in the 12-step program, the original source, he shouldn't be shouldering any of the blame, because he's only doing what he has to survive in this horrible place. If he never went in there, who knows what he could have been. So step 4, no thanks, I want to go up to stage 1. Then you go beyond stage 1. Then you accept it. So the easier it becomes to talk about it, to be able to turn around, because it'll happen in the family. The trauma will be there, and then you go and say, Mum, I want to talk about that. Listen, didn't you say that? Because if you say that, Daddy die, your Uncle Joe will end up trying to stab him or blah, blah, blah. So let's move on. No, sorry, we can't move on, because you're seeing it in the courtrooms 20, 15 years later, the results in no talking about. But
do you think there's an appetite? I don't know about you guys, but do you think there's an appetite to look at better ways of healing people? Because I think there's just been a whole creation of we just medicate.
I think
that's
it's
where I'm had enough of the fucking medication, and that's what I'm saying. If you just go for stage 4, rewind it back. Why are you going on a 12-step program? Because you never got the opportunity to touch on the original thing that takes you to door number 1. That's not working, so I'm going to go to door number 2. So it could be a wee smoke of the hash, it appeases the noise. It's not working anymore. A couple of Valium, that'll sort that's nice. We're just getting high. It's just peer pressure. But what you're doing is you're hiding that door noise.
Couple of months, Allan.
Go back there.
Sorry, Pop. Like, for years I've tried blockage trauma and that with drugs, alcohol and stuff like that, the usual. But what I've noticed, like, you deal with your trauma with doing your wee doodles, things like that. Like, since Josh brought his book and like wrote like I've got a chapter in it and just all about my life story and that, like, the amount that's done, like, to help me is a lot better in the last few years.
But do you know, see where it's no you sitting in the cell going over your story. It's you actually hearing your story because somebody else is giving you that account. I've found that when somebody talks to me and I tell them, you're not telling me your story, you're telling yourself. And they realise it is. I've never heard it before because they only hear this noise inside their head. It's when they put it out and they know that my eyes is reflecting back. That's what I'm saying. See, that's why guys will get up and give you a standing ovation.
When I talk about things that and I'm writing a book and that, it seems to help me a lot better.
It's cathartic. That's a big magic word for it.
And everybody's exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say, Sonny. Is everybody's different in the way that they can manage their traumas. And I think it's always been really interesting watching your journey, and it's almost like you reveal bits at a time. And I like that pace. It's like these chapters start coming, and it's like, and there's nothing forced. It's just like, you know, this. It's not like a big reveal, but there's just this unpeeling of you that's happened throughout the years. And I love the fact it's free flow, and it's like there's no that assumption put on you, you know, because you've got experience of crime, you've got experience of homelessness, you've got experience of drug use. So you've got to speak about that drug, or you've got to speak about, you know, that sort of thing. You've always had that freedom of saying, well, this is a part that I want to talk about. And I think that's a key thing, is it's been led by you, because I think there's a lot of dangers around when people say you must feel like this,
pigeonholed, or
this is my trauma, so everybody else's trauma is exactly the same. And it's just really good to have that freedom of, you know, you'll find whatever the words or what you need to say. So I think for Sonny has been very self-directed. And I think that helps a lot when people are trying to find ways of expressing their story. And I think it's been great that you've had the platforms to be able to do that, because not everybody has that, and they've got to find other ways. But it's encouraging, because it allows people to say, well, I'm not the only one sitting with this shit.
And the other thing is, you haven't mentioning that Social Bite has over 200 partners. It's the potential to reaching everyone that's in there, that's sitting, smiling, but handling fucking trauma that they can't talk about because they didn't want to be the, oh, I never knew that, oh, that's it. No, Sonny's the walking, talking guy that walks in and says, it's fine. I'm not bothered with it.
I think with even things that you're doing, it's like there's got to be an everyday conversation. Like, we talk about trauma-informed or psychologically informed spaces, whether it's courtrooms, whether it's schools, whether it's offices. It needs to be everywhere, because we really need to let people know that everybody experiences trauma.
Oh, aye.
So I'm assuming whenever I speak to somebody that there's been a trauma.
Or something.
Because I really don't like this whole, I've got lived experience off. And I was speaking to you earlier, Allan, where I'd say, you know, I'd watched some that Janie Godley had done, a comedian, and she was on stage and she says, my lived experience of cancer. And I was like, it was almost like that light bulb moment. I was like, my God, yeah, there's a lived experience of cancer. But whenever I look at lived experience, I associate that with substance use, because it was almost like we got evidence in a recovery community, and that was through substances. And then people were starting to get employed as the lived experience guy. We've got a lived experience in our charity organisation, you know, and I got this really bad picture. And I just think that we need to sort of break that down a wee bit, and just, you know, especially when it comes to trauma, because everybody's experienced it and deals with it in a different way, or not at all. So I think it's really important that when we're living with this, we try and change the narrative in some way. And I think that's something that Social Bite's been really keen on doing through our whole existence, is changing the narrative. You know, I get really frustrated even at Christmas, and I'm seeing, you know, charity adverts, because that's the time of year you got all the charity adverts. Like, I will donate to donkeys, you know, and all that sort of thing at Christmas time, because we get plagued by this organisation needs your money, and the most generous time people are is at Christmas time. But I was watching this video, and it was and I was literally almost traumatised into giving money. And it's like, do we look for responses and traumatising people that they'll jump and be very, very compliant? And I thought, I find this really interesting.
It's the old heartstrings, isn't it? Just pluck on them, push into the purse.
But it's like there's something wrong with showing images of a girl in an alleyway, and you hear the footsteps and you think, my God, she's going to get raped. You know, and this is Christmas time, you're almost thinking the next scene. And it's, lo and behold, it's a worker with her badge, and they're rescued, and everything's going to be all right, so give us money. And I just think it's really important to change that whole narrative that no, everybody that's homeless is in an alleyway. You know, they're living, and their next door neighbours just happen to be in temporary accommodation. You know, they're a mum on the school run. You know, but people just want that perception of the jeans are hanging off their backside, they've got an addiction, and they're sitting on the street and they're begging, and it's not the case. No, it's not the case.
It's the same as the badge that you get for now. If whatever your label is, it's the PTSD. Now it's complex PTSD. Well, I think that for homeless people, it's very complex as well. The complexity is that they didn't fucking know, because anybody can tell. I saw a cat getting run over, and it's really fucked with me now. I think you've got CPTSD. The complexity of somebody being homeless, I would want to know, and that's where I think these things are. Hopefully, it would be nice if the homeless people had somewhere to go where they could talk about why they're homeless, because it isn't just that they can't afford the rent, they can't afford that, because there's something that blocks them. And to me, it's that fucking door. They can't open the door, so the easiest way, run away from it.
There's so many labels. There's so many labels.
Oh, Dunny, I've got a fucking jingle for that.
What do you want? A balloon? A badge? There's no labels here, neighbour.
I hate the labels, and it's very sad, because a lot of people, they're like, I don't know what's happening. Well, here's a badge.
Self-diagnosing, isn't it?
Yeah, because they all go away. Oh, that's me, I'm fixed. And no, there was somebody was at me and said, no, I'm going to go and I'm going to see the doctor. I'm going to see this person, that person. What do you need to know? Well, well, if you're looking for a badge, I'll give you a badge. I'm telling you that you have got post-traumatic stress syndrome because you grew up in a scheme, and I know the scheme you grew up in, and I know the environment where you were. Everybody in that environment has the same thing, because trauma comes as trauma. You watch the big guy and the executive, or he's got a deadline, he's got to do this, and he's stressed, and he's going to end up flipping his taxes. Then take a young kid. His old man's come back for the boozer, piss drunk, gives him a tenner and sends him to the local chippy for a bag of chips. That brings in the Krypton factor. How does he get there? Without getting robbed, without getting mugged, dodging that cunt, put the money in your shoe. Have to avoid that cunt, because he'll steal my shoe, and if he finds I've got the money in my shoe, he's going to batter me for hiding the money, and it just becomes this raggedy arse road. I went into civil engineering and watched guys shaking and everything because he's stressing. That stress, I'll fucking show you stress. No, the most you're going to get is, you've done something wrong, you bloody bugger, get out of my office, you're fired. It's when they come in with a bat. Then you think, now I'm in trouble. No,
everybody's got different ways of dealing with it.
It's a coping mechanism.
If somebody was to come along here with a balaclava on, you'd probably laugh and say, you want a cup of tea, you want a kettle on. But then somebody else would be absolutely, traumatised.
That's
almost
desensitized. That's the only time your lived experience comes into action, is where you can get the lived guy to stand up, somebody that's been there. And to me, it's just a backstory. It's like you're saying.
But it's an asset as well. It's an absolute asset.
It's chapters. When you get the chapters for Sonny, that somebody sitting there, they're hiding it, and then when they see how open he is, and they're like, I've actually lived through that as well. And like, and then their shoulders will go up like that.
And thriving. Really good,
getting ready.
There's one guy in particular, I know Allan, when he used to stay in Bathgate, and when he used to sell drugs and that with his family, and he's a bit of a bullying bastard, to be honest. Nobody likes him anyway. And he poured petrol all over one of my pals, fucking Imagine how terrifying that'd be, you know,
yeah.
covered in petrol and was going to fucking light them and that, and he still suffers with trauma.
Of course he will. But the worst it is, see the bully guy that does that. I've always found that fascinating. Right. See if I owe you money, then he threatened me, then he hit me, then he poured petrol over me, because I guarantee you're not getting your fucking money back.
Exactly.
You're not getting it, so it doesn't work. But that whole intimidating thing doesn't actually work. If somebody's no got the money, they've no got the money. If they're not paying you because you're an asshole, you've got to then have a wee Michael Jackson moment, look in the mirror and think, I'm a bit of an asshole, right enough, and accept it. Everybody always goes for it. No, if the guy comes home and his wife's been cheating on him, he goes on me fucking caveman. He'll not look in the mirror to see, well, what have you failed on? Because it's you that's failed. It's not her. You're obviously not doing something right that she's thought she has to go elsewhere. And it's the same with everything. It's that admission to yourself. So if you admit to yourself that you're a bad guy, then you go the extra layer and cut back. Well, why am I a bad guy? What made me a bad guy? Well, hang on a minute. I'm not looking for absolution here, but if that hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't have had to do all these things. So I can go backwards and I can actually change this and become the new Sonny.
Well, I was due him a lot of money, but I used my brains and, well, I moved away, but I tell him I'm not moving away from my debt. I'm moving away from drugs and dealing and all that shit. So I've come up with a payment plan. Every fortnight, £150, £75 a week, I'd pay his bra and he's come and collect it until I paid it off. So rather than getting petrol pulled off it, you know what I mean? So I still due the person the money, so I had to pay it. So
yeah, it's a very touchy subject. I'm not a massive fan of it, to be honest, because it's the people that's taking the drugs. Again, I'll take them right back to the fucking door. Why are you taking drugs? What are you hiding from? Can you just face up to that rather than, well, if I take the drugs, I didn't have to open the door. I can't afford the drugs. Well, what I'll do is I'll sell the drugs, I'll get my drugs for free, and I didn't have to open the door. Oh no, now nobody's buying my drugs, so now I'm still having to hide for the door, and now I'm in fucking debt.
You're taking the drugs, exactly.
Well, what you've done is, in that wing that you've now got, for not opening that door, you've now created another one where you're hiding for the dealer. And what you've got to do to hide for the dealer, well, I need to move house, and what am I going to do through there? I need to make money to pay the dealer. You start doing that whole spiralling fucking thing. And that's the best one for me when I try to explain it, is that old riddle, the old woman that swallowed the fly. She swallowed the fly, I don't know why, so perhaps she'll die. And then she swallowed the spider that wriggles and tickles and tickles inside her. She swallowed the spider to catch the fly. And that's all you do is you keep going and you keep creating these fucking doors. And it's when you get to, like Babs is saying, crunch time, where you have to face it, you have to face the trauma, it has to be addressed. You've got all these doors, because each door holds a trauma on its end to get right back to the original source self that should have, that's step one for me, turn around and face it. Just face it, as hard as it is. It's never really that hard. Your big story, even if it took 5 years, if you're 40 now, 5 years out of 40, that's a lot more years you've lived than you have than the actual act itself. So the act becomes just a chapter in a story. Going back and facing that chapter, rewrite it, take all the shite out of it, and then think, no, there's actually goodness in there, because what happened to me has allowed me to stand in front of an audience of really cool people. I get my photo with Bob Geldof and they'll stand up and clap me. The perversion is, how the fuck can you celebrate what happened to you? Like that.
It takes guts. It takes courage. It takes guts.
That's me in the photo with George Clooney.
I know, it's been quite incredible just
thinking
about it.
I've ever had, to be honest. Probably the best natural high I've ever had.
Yeah.
But look at the price that it costs you. Now, if you had the opportunity to let somebody else meet George Clooney or go to Glen Eagles and get a standing ovation and all that, but this is what you've got to go through. How many young minds do you think could survive what you went through?
Well,
there's no many, mate. Honestly, I can tell you now, there isn't many.
You don't think you can survive things until you actually go through it. And then
but that's where the gift of hindsight comes in. But with you being so involved with Social Bite, they're allowing you to go out there and say to these young guys, listen, this might look great, but look at how I got here. Trust me, you'll never walk my path, because there's a lot of yous wouldn't last round 3. You wouldn't get past door 4. You've got all these doors that you've managed to go through to get right through the other side, to then come back around to the start again and say, didn't go that way.
What I say a lot of my pals on, like, because some of them, like, obviously suffer like depression, things like that, so I'm clearly paranoia and things like that. I always say in one particular, my mate Kev's like one of my best mates, and he used to worry about things all the time. I'd be like, Kev, stop worrying about things. Like, if it happens, then deal with it. Then
worry about when it's there.
It's
the bridges.
He says that's well helped him in life, you know what I mean? Like the advice again, because it's true. He used to worry about things, and I'd be like the same. Like, if I was due somebody over $1,000 and that, I'd be like, well, I better not walk down that way in case I bump into them and that, or walk down this way, and then I'd take about 10 minutes out my journey, and I'd be like, what the fuck am I doing? I'd be like, I'll fucking go the way I want.
If you bump into him, that's when you deal with it.
If I bump into him, I bump into him. Simple as that. Yeah. And then that worked for me, you know what I mean? Like,
but isn't that a fascination in itself? That the way, the story as you've done your journey, the way you can break things down to be able to hand it on to somebody else. Mm-hmm. That's why you know that your journey was worth doing it all. I would say right now, the newest, again, the new monkey is that for me personally, the journey and everything that I've done, I've now become this beacon and what I'm is a gatekeeper. Because I'm never letting any young guy walk past me to walk the path that's behind me. Why would I? Mm-hmm. I would need to be a narcissistical fucker. They think that they would even survive the first phase of it, never mind the second, the third and the fourth.
Young boys like my boy, 19 years, like young guys at that age, and that I could, if I could help them, give them a bit of advice and that, I would, like, they're doing things like that.
But and that's where social bite becomes a massive thing.
It's the honesty that Sonny has. You know, he's never dressed anything up. Sonny, you've always been really real. You've no tried to be somebody that you're not, and I think that people are drawn to that. I mean, you've really spoke your truth to power. You know, you've spoke and had these exact same conversations. You've no dressed the way you speak up, and you've been able to sit down with some really important people and just talk your truth, and they've been listening. And I think there's one thing telling your story, it's influencing that. So when you speak your truth, what the impact of that is, sometimes you just can't measure it. But you touch people's hearts. Mm-hmm. You find ways of speaking for a group of people that haven't got a voice, and there'd be absolutely no hope in hell that they'd be sitting down speaking to Leonardo DiCaprio, speaking to George Clooney, speaking to royals, speaking to, you know, countless celebrities to say, this is what you need to be looking at, this is what's happening in schemes, this is what's happening with me, this is my journey. You know, you've been really, really good at putting spotlight on things, and I think, you know, when I look at all the various traumas that you've had, you know, still being you when you're having really, really bad days. And there was days that, you know, God, there was days he wouldn't turn up to work. You'd just go AWOL, and I'd be, oh my God, what's going on? But when he really found his voice, it was great to be able to say, what about Invisible Cities? You know, there's touring, and you can speak to loads of people, all these tourists, and show them a side of Edinburgh that they've probably never seen before.
No, it's not.
And it's great that he found his 40.
Yeah.
Because people can spend their whole life trying to think, what am I going to be good at?
Mm-hmm. Did you see the transition for the old one to the new one then? Where the voice actually came out?
There wasn't like this whole, you know, light bulb moment. It's been, I think,
progressive.
My experience of Sonny, it's been like a journey that, you know, step by step, he'll have his blips and his off days, and then there'll be days I'll be like, my God, he's totally on it. He's been really professional. He's doing this and he's doing that. And it's difficult because you really can't measure things. You are who you are. And, you know, there is days that you will, everybody, regardless of their background, have their off days. But he owns everything. So he doesn't deny his truth. He owns everything. And whether you like it or not,
right,
you know, he's unapologetically Sonny.
So, Babs, on that then, where does social bite come in here? We're talking about social bite, we're talking about the societal problems and everything like that. What is social bite? What's the ethos? And we'll maybe ask you what part they played in your role, but I think we're getting that message. But what is social bite?
Well, it's interesting because Sonny carries all the values that social bite has.
Yeah.
You know, we've sort of journeyed along. We actually just reviewed some of our mission, vision and values recently to see, are we in that same place? Because it's really important to have a really healthy culture. We all go on about cultures, but we have to nail it. We have to say, this is who we are. This is our identity. My God, we need it in our day-to-day life, don't we? So an organisation has to have a strong identity. It has to have a culture. It has to have a mission. It has to have values.
And what are those? What are these? What are these cultures, missions, values?
I think what's important is, we've always stayed strong to that belief that, we need to end homelessness. I mean, it's not unsurmountable that we can do it, and we've always had that in everything that we've done.
So is that like the core part of Social Bite?
The mission is for ending homelessness.
Right.
And I think that the things that we value is, the projects that we do brings value, which is food, which is homes, and which is employment. And Sonny's a testament to the employment.
So the mission then was like to end homelessness, but then it's grew arms and legs.
We do that through the different projects that we do.
Right.
And we're able to have platforms to speak about it more and change the narrative around it.
See, with your partners, what is a partner's input into Social Bite?
It's different for everybody. I think we've just not been precious. I think that's been a quality that we've had, where we've not been precious. If people have got the same vision, values as we have, we can work together in some shape or form. So we build relationships. Sometimes it's one charity we might just be given stuff. It might be food. We're they're getting food to provide to the people that they support. But then it might be we give them Christmas gifts because they're having a Christmas party for the kids. And so that could be all about giving, but then they might be given stuff back as well. They might have a skill, a resource, a referral process into their organisation that, that we all
benefit
work with.
Somebody that you want,
there's loads of different ways that we partner. So we've got charity partners, we've got corporate partners. So we have a lot of businesses that will donate to us in different ways. So they'll maybe donate their time through volunteering. They'll maybe donate financially. They will maybe sign up to Break the Cycle, and that's like a cycling event. They might attend some of your events, so there's loads of different ways, or pro bono work.
And that's contributing towards the charity, but
it's
see the individual on the street, where did they, do you know what I mean?
Well, I think what was quite unique with us was the employment element. Because I know that when I first started Social Bite, it was like supported employment, but I don't think we really had a name for it. It was just Josh went about and picked people off the street and do you want a job? That type of thing. And they're all around sort of the business. So I guess there was like supported employment was the sort of first thing. It was recognising that, Christ, that person's not turning up, or that's not, or I think they've relapsed, or they're a bit mental at work today. I wonder what's going on. So there was like that one-to-one support within the workplace. So we started then piloting an academy for people that had backgrounds in homelessness, substance use, mental health. But for the substance use, mental health, you had to be in some sort of form of recovery and getting treatment for it. So, you can just imagine the workplace that we have where there's a lot of people with some sort of lived experience, but they were getting support. And it was just no bullshit around getting the work. It was like, if you fit the criteria, come and work with us. So it became quite an easy, straightforward process to get in to Social Bite and get support in the workplace. And that was quite a unique thing, because what really annoyed me when I looked at things, and you know what I'm like with labels, it's like employability schemes, and it's like it really, really frustrated me because people weren't getting jobs. They were on all these programs and they were sitting at tables and they were all talking jobs.
You can write a CV.
Aye. But they weren't getting the jobs. And then here's Social Bite coming along and it's like, well, employ. And it's like, oh, but, we'll just do it. If they want to work in the kitchen and they want to learn to be baristas, but the unique bit was we provided support in employment. So they would get their one-to-one counselling. They would get a key worker. They would be looking at stuff. They would be looking at stuff outside the workplace while in the workplace. Yeah. So we were very much into employing. So I guess we just kind of shook things up at the start because, we've always stayed strong to our mission and ending homelessness, and we can do that through providing employment opportunities. But yeah, there's loads of things that we have been doing in our cafes. We've got a pay it forward, so it's not a new thing. Pay it forward started in Naples, like after the war, Second World War. They believed that everybody should have a coffee every day. And there was a lot of poverty after the war, so they started like a pay it forward. So those that could afford would pay forward coffee for somebody that couldn't afford.
Oh, nice.
So, because it kind of annoys us at Social Bite, because they almost like, oh my goodness, they invented. And it's like, no, actually, we didn't invent. Just similarly to the House and First, when we did our Sleep in the Park events, which was getting a whole load of people that had the shared mission with us to end homelessness. And we had musicians there, with speakers there, and raising funds. We had Leonardo DiCaprio coming over, and it was, we were looking at scaling up House and First model. That wasn't invented by Social Bite. House and First was already on the go. For example, the Rock Trusts were doing it with young people. It was getting done in America, but we'd seen really, really good results in Finland. So if we were to look at Finland and the ratio of people, their culture, and I thought, if that was here, could we have the same sort of successes if we scale this up? So we just got really ambitious. We've always been bold. We've always taken risks. Some risks you have to you have to really weigh things up when you're choosing to go forward with an idea. And so we looked at House and First, and that's what we sort of decided to fundraise around, and we piloted it. We got our charity partners together to have consortiums in each city and say, right, we'll get a consortium together. What do we need? How is this going to work?
Because it started here in Edinburgh.
Well, yeah.
And then grew.
It started in sort of main areas. So it was like your city areas. So your Glasgow, your Edinburgh, your Dundee and your Aberdeen.
Yeah. But the initial first Social Bite was here, wasn't
Social Bite was born in Edinburgh. The cafe in Rose Street was the very first. That was a flagship cafe, and then we had other.
What was the one at the West End? Was Rose Street first, and then Shandwick after that? Right.
That shut, and then we had 2 cafes in Glasgow, but one was round the corner for the other one, so it didn't really make sense having the 2. And then we would get contracts. So we had like a contract in Rockstar to provide the food and the gaming company, banks, all that sort of thing. So we've got quite a healthy business model, and we place people that are homeless within our free food service, and the pay it forwards worked really, really well. So but as I say, similar to House and First, this is something that we never invented. We just took that and believed in it a bit more, and then put it to scale, and people really loved that. But it ran away with itself. I found when the pay it forward started in the cafes, it was people would just rock up with they take the bit of paper with their coffee or their sandwich, and they would go up to the front of the desk and they would get their sandwich. But it became that busy to run a business alongside a free food service. It can work. But when we've had the cost of living, we've had austerity, which have drawn people more into poverty to come in and use the food service, it was becoming more a charity than a business. So it was trying to get the balance. Yeah. So we decided to have like a breakfast service and then an afternoon service for people. Supper events where people can sit, a restaurant experience so they can have a 3-course meal and get served at the table, because it's all about, we believe in dignity. That's part of our values, that, if you're coming in for a 3-course meal with us, you're getting exactly the same as a paying customer. Yeah. Same quality, same treatment, all of that, but it just happens to be free. So we sort of prided ourselves in that way, and treating everybody with dignity. And I think we were like that when it came to other projects. When it came to our village projects, we're just going to be sort of breaking ground in Dundee. So that'll be happening. There's been a public consultation for all the sort of neighbours in that area, because we're going to be rocking up and we're going to be having a recovery village. I remember speaking to Josh and saying, fuck, there's the biggest drug deaths in Scotland's been Dundee, and it's biggest in Europe. And given those conversations at the time when all the sort of drug death figures came out, and when we looked at that, it was a wee while ago, but it's taken this long to be able to get it to the position that we're in now, to be able to break ground in Dundee. You know, things didn't happen overnight.
Oh, no
and
chance.
it takes a lot of fundraising. It takes a lot of goodwill from our corporates, from the general public.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing in Dundee.
But, you know, it is amazing. And, you know, we work with charity partners. So, like Sirenians for Edinburgh, they provide the support at the village. So it's not you're getting a house there, you go, see you later. You know, it's support, you know, while they're managing and while they're living at the village. So that's the thing that I love, and it's similar to Housing First. Housing First was really geared at people that were constantly bouncing in and out of rough sleeping.
Right.
So those that were really harder to reach, we constantly, you know, having that cycle. So it really was around, like Housing First for us was really around getting these consortiums together and looking at what would really work for people. And I remember sitting in the very first meeting around Housing First, and Josh had been out in the street and he met this guy, Dode, and it was really interesting because we looked at how would it look like to support him in a Housing First model way. So, you know, I learned a lot from him because I'll never forget that day I'm sitting there and it's like, right, so where do you think, what would success look to you around where you lived? So he was like, well, I need to be near a hospital, I need to be near the church because I like going to church. So we ended up like looking at a radius on a map as to where it would work for him, where he would live. So there was like a high-rise flat or something or other, and I was like, oh, you know, you had a degenerative health condition. I was like, yeah, the ground floor, you know, ground floor flat for you. And he just looked at me in front of all these professionals and he's like, are you fucking off your head? Are you daft? I was like, what? And he was like, why would I be wanting a ground floor flat? So I made these assumptions about the guy. You know, it's like sometimes the best lessons are the hard lessons, and I got served my totties that day. It was, you know, he just was like, no, because every Tom, Dick and Harry is going to be, you know, at my door. I want to be on the top flat, so nobody knows that I'm in. But that's why it's really important for people to speak what their own needs are, because we're all quick to point the finger. This is what you need. I'm going to tell you what you need. Where services and everything has to be geared around the person, or it's not going to work. Right. So what really worked with Housing First was being able to sit with the person and say, right, we'll wrap this support around you. We're going to put you in accommodation. We're going to work at these things that have no worked for you to try and ensure that you're able to live in this property and thrive. So it was really good having really intensive support, but then that intensive support started withdrawing. So services wean themselves off.
Just taking the stabilisers away.
And they've got their property. Where they're living is where they're living. So no sort of disruption with moving here, there and everywhere. You're in that accommodation, but you're getting that really, really intense support, and then that gradual weaning off with workers, and then that's the...
See, in the cafes, how did you do it there when they're saying that they one-to-one support? Who is doing the support? Somebody that's actually physically
workers.
So but see, a support worker is a support worker, I'm a support worker, or I'm making a sandwich today, but I'm his support worker.
Well, that's really quite interesting, because usually the folk that are round about somebody that's maybe just started employment have got lived experience of homelessness, substance misuse. So they've already got a peer there.
Sponsors of the...
Almost, It's like, you know, it's quite good because there's no holding back. So you'll always find, you know, if Sonny was working alongside somebody else with lived experience, you know, there was that automatic go-to person in the workplace before they went anywhere else.
That's what I think's missing in 90% of workplaces in itself, is somebody can be there. And we worked for one of the big boys, and you know, their offices were all over the place, thousands of people, but you could walk past a bank of 12 people and watch one guy come in, put his jacket down, sit down, put on his computer, and nobody would say to him, all right, Jeff, how are you doing? You all right this morning? How did it go last night? None. There was just none of that socialisation, which, you know, the titles there, it's just biting right into that and knocking that out of the way and saying, no, if these guys are supported, the knock-on effect is they start supporting each other, and you just keep building this thing.
But there was a model in Italy where people that came into a recovery community were given a guardian angel. So they sort of partnered up with them, that's what they were, yes, sort of thing. So I guess there's been a wee bit of that within the workplace with other people that's relatable. They know that somebody within where they're going to be placed or where they're working, they know and they'll recognise somebody that also has had a journey, a lived experience in some area, homelessness, mental health, substance use. So there is that go-to person. But yeah, we started an academy, so we would do like a pipeline of support, so we'd know exactly what that person's journey was going to be.
And did you do the academy?
No.
Is it after?
He was before.
Before, right, okay,
Before
fair
the
enough.
academy.
Aye.
But it was through the actions of the earlier guys that came into Social Bite that we were able to learn and say, right, what the hell's needed here?
Brilliant, to pay attention to it, actually spot.
So it's like what's working, what's not. So it was really good. If Sonny and some of the guys that started along the same time as Sonny, if they didn't do what they did in the workplace, we wouldn't, mistakes and all, no turning up, this, that, and the next thing, we would not have a good idea of what we really, really need to put in place at the very start of employment for people.
So I'm assuming that there's 10, 20, 30 Sonnies out there that have progressed through Social Bite.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been a real big thing. There's a lot of things that we do.
Who's Josh? I've heard you've spouted his name several times. I'm guessing he's somebody higher up there.
Josh is the founder.
The founder,
Josh
yeah,
is
right.
Co-founder of Social Bite. There was Alice and Josh. Founded Social Bite.
So when we see Social Bite in the telly and papers, it's usually Josh's. That's who Josh is.
Yeah.
Right, fine.
Yeah, so I guess, one good thing about Josh is he's always sort of reachable. Mm-hmm. So there's always times where Josh will pop in and he's spent a wee bit of time with people with experience because he trusts that voice, because that voice has always been the voice that's guided.
What was his reasoning?
His reasoning was, he did want to do the pay it forward. He did want to, he wasn't quite sure. I remember.
But was his background, was he homeless at some point?
No.
He just spotted it.
Not at all.
That's nice.
Totally opposite.
Yeah. But I think it was interesting when he got the Burns Humanitarian Award, the Robert Burns Award, and it's great that we're doing like events like Glen Eagles, because even though he's won so many awards for his work with homelessness, he is a humanitarian at the end of the day, and he genuinely has a really open heart and really wanting to change things for the better. So that absolutely helps, and that's the motivation. That is the motivation. So there's no any other motivation.
Well, it can't be financial.
No. Oh, no. But I find it interesting. I find the employment thing interesting. So we're able to...
How long have you been with them?
I've been with Social Bite. Sonny, how long? I'm postmenopausal, so I don't know times. I don't know my
So's he.
No, it's the blind leading the blind.
Have you been here longer?
Sonny's been there longer than
9 months or something, 8 months or something.
Before you come. I'm sure you said that before.
We never really had a support worker for the ex-homeless people, not now in Josh.
That was mental.
We were quite good workers and wanted to adopt that policy. I wanted to adopt that policy with ex-homeless people working, so I think
we just never had policies.
We
never had policies at all.
Now, at first, Babs was just like a counsellor to somebody we could go and talk to and that, because a lot of us still had a lot of problems and that, you know what I mean? Then, just over the years, Babs' job off as well.
It's just been
time scale. What sort of time scale? 10 year, 5 year, 20 year?
I've been Social Bite's.
10 year.
I think Social Bite's been on the go for 12 years.
Right.
Something
as little as that. I thought Social Bite was going a lot longer. Do you know that?
Oh, it's
12
really,
years.
really
Wow.
flown in, but it rocketed. I mean, when Social Bite started, the
Camping
pace,
Out was a big one, wasn't
but
it?
the
That
pace
really
that
launched
it was really difficult to sustain that, because it's a really small team.
Right.
So when it took off, it
exploded.
friggin' exploded. And then I remember,
I think it was the very first sleep out in Princess Street, wasn't it? All the years ago that just it blew up.
It was doing that before it, but I think when there's things that are a visual aid for people, it helps. So a visual aid, I mean, like if it's something tangible like a village. You see something, there's a building, we're fundraising for that.
It's not just
I
noise
can
in a bucket.
understand it. I can understand it. But when people are fundraising for somebody to live in the flat across the road there, they didn't see it. It's hidden to them. But when you show something quite tangible, or you've got a sleep in the park, people are able to feel part of a movement, that's when the movement kicks in, because it's gathering people together. Just like we've got a visual aid around the installations at Christmas time, the big Christmas trees.
Don't wrap your presents. If you donate anything, don't wrap them.
Or I'll wrap you.
Or Babs will wrap you.
But it's been an incredible journey. But mental as it is, you know, I really believe that if you've got an idea, because we get asked all the time, how did you do it? You know, what did you do it? And it's great that Josh kind of wrote a book around it, because we get constantly, if we're in the media in any shape or form, there will be some crazy emails bouncing about our inboxes from all random suggestions. Can you fund us? There's so many various things. So it was quite handy, Josh, writing that book, because we do get a lot of people asking how we did it. And I just believe if you're passionate and you've got an idea and you want to just do it, because people got, it's like what came first, the egg or the chicken. There's no right or wrong way. There's just a way.
There's a way.
And, I remember panicking. I was working at Social Bite, and I started off, my background psychotherapy. I became a psychotherapist in schemes. And I did that for 14 years. And when I joined Social Bite, it was like, we need somebody to deliver counselling and, blah, 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 within Social Bite. So I came along to check it out, and it was absolutely mental. Folk no turning up, food flying. it was just crazy. And then I remember looking and thinking, right, there must be a policy for this. There was no policies or procedures. So it was like Social Bite had started, and we were doing the opposite thing. Yeah. So people normally start, and they've got all their policies and procedures, and they're all organised with their paperwork in place. We were the opposite. We were arse for elbow. We were the opposite way around. But I think there's something really healthy in that.
That's maybe because you were serving the people rather than the bureaucracy.
Yeah. The purpose first. The shite behind.
There's something.
Ticking boxes later. Let's get the purpose first.
The problem is, that's great when you've got the flexibility to no rely on government funding, council funding, but because you need to have all of that in place. Whereas we've had quite a unique journey in some sense of the word, although we are accountable to everybody that puts a penny towards Social Bite. But there was something about being able to shape what we needed to be by testing it out and seeing, just similar to like Sonny working at Social Bite from that point, and learning for the early guys that works, that doesn't work. So let's have an academy. So it wasn't a separate building, it was an academy within our business operations, where this is somebody's journey. If they've got lived experience to come through Social Bite, they will start with one-to-one every week, and we will meet with their manager, their line manager, and we'll be asking how's their performance, how are they getting on with the team, timekeeping. So there'd be 5 areas that we would be asking specific questions, because we're not buying into this guy's fucking useless, we had to let him go scenario.
No.
We don't buy into that.
Most employers.
But there's a lot of that in hospitality, I'm afraid. There's a lot of you're here and then you're fired and you're gone, so that cancel culture is very much alive within hospitality.
0 hour contracts.
It's totally there within hospitality. But we weren't buying into that, because if there's good recruitment and you've got the support in place where you're no want anybody to fail, then if you're meeting with a manager that line managing that individual, and they're saying, well, and you're sitting with them as well, and you're saying, right, how's it been this week? Oh, well, the timekeeping, I was late. Well, what happened there? How can we support you to make sure? Go and get the train timetables out. Go and get the bus time. Just let's see. And try and help people be present at work. What is, because we know that people are leaving a lot behind to come in to get their backside into work every day. So let's try and make that process and let the manager understand what it's like for them every day. And, we had guys that were like, I've just started coming and do a shift today, Babs. I'm like, what? You're not on the rota. Aye, but I'm here. And it was just like, this is not how a workplace works. Showing somebody a contract, they'd never signed a contract. I remember thinking, that'll take me 2 minutes. I'll just make this half an hour, because he'll go through that contract, sign it, and away we go, and on to the next thing. No, I was like half an afternoon. I was splitting hairs, because every single word, what does that mean? What does that exactly mean? But it was brilliant.
But a scheme monkey's going to do that.
It was brilliant. It was, what am I signing? What am I signing? But it was brilliant, because really taking on board what a contract contract is and what is expected.
Understanding the small print and
but I love the academy.
what you're signing for.
I love the academy, and I love the fact that we were picking up on things really quite quickly. We were having meetings every week. So we piloted that and then we scaled it up. So we then got other employers buying in. We changed it to jobs first. So it's just employ people first, then wrap the support around. Because, as I say, kind of sick of people saying you've got a possibly maybe never job. Like all these employability schemes, you're going to get a possibly maybe never job.
That's a good chance.
Tell the camera one thing, she's passionate. She's
definitely passionate. She's definitely invested in social bite, Babs.
So, get a drink. Sonny, where are you at with social bite now then?
Well, social bite basically looked after me all during COVID and stuff. Babs helped me sort out with being employed, being visiting cities, just so I do my tours, like 14 hours a week.
Yeah.
But it means I still get help with rent, housing benefits and stuff, so I'll never be homeless again. So, because I could just be on benefits and no work, but I don't like doing that. I like going out and working, so Babs sorted all that out for me. So I just
So you're saying 14 hours, how many do you do?
14 hours with visiting cities each week, and I do obviously my tours and that. But Josh knows, and the team at Social Bite and that, if they ever need me to do talks and things
well,
like
you're
that.
here today doing one.
I mean, things like that. So, when the village opens up in Dundee and Lanarkshire and that, so we've done that last time, me and Colin done wee talks up at the village when it opened, because people come and see.
Who do you talk to? Do you talk to the general public or the patrons, the people that's going to be using
public, the donors and that, MPs and that, because I invited my local MP, Joanna Cherry. I said to her, like, did she want to come and see like the wee house that was at St Andrew's Square at the time? And she was like, I'll come up to the village when it's open. That so I think she just said, "Nah, get rid of me." But sure enough, she turned up.
I was going to say that, Sonny, because there'll not be many people can pull the wool over your eyes now at this point in your life. Do you feel you're getting through to these people?
To be honest,
I say these people, I didn't mean it derogatory. I mean,
exactly. I think because I know I've actually done quite a lot, and I've got good people behind me and that, so they do listen to me a bit. So
good.
Definitely.
So plus they know people like Josh and that can get me to do things. Like I'm obviously not stupid, you know what I mean? So or Josh wouldn't ask me to do things basically. So, but he knows that I like doing things like that to help homeless people and that, and I'll always try and be the voice for homeless people and people that's got mental health problems, things like that, because a lot of it goes hand in hand, you know what I mean, with addictions and mental health, and a lot of homeless people like suffer.
It's like Bab says, there's no voice there for them.
But it's great being able to give Sonny these experiences. You know, it blows Josh's mind. It's like, wouldn't it be great if we could get guys cooking something for Leonardo DiCaprio? Wouldn't it be great if, because it just blew his mind, he'd get the buzz.
And do these guys keep in touch? The Leonardo DiCaprio, the George Clooney up on the wall there, what's his name? Conor McGregor. I mean, do these? I know they'll probably keep financially dropping money in the hat. That's the easy one. But do they keep putting their faces to things to assist it, to get it out there?
I think whenever we've reached out to people, there's hardly anybody refused. Which is brilliant. Which is brilliant. And I think it's just been ballsy and cold emailing or messaging or whatever, and just doing it and just asking if you're passionate about something and you want to put a spotlight on it. But you know, and being bold enough to say, you know, right, we'd love to meet you, but we also want to make sure that you're meeting the people that we feel are important.
Right.
And it's Sonny that's important. It's our lived experience that's important. So celebrities know that that's what's going to be expected of them.
Right.
So Chris Hoy, he's been a good supporter over the years at social media.
It's been brilliant.
Like
the amount of time that he spent with the guys is
and
incredible.
You get like businessmen like Mr. Watson, John Watson, people like that. William Goro.
And they all know Sonny. They all know, even a lot of them are on his Facebook.
Right.
But you know, that's important.
Yeah, definitely.
That's important because they want to keep their ear to the ground. They want to know what's important, what they could be doing to change things. Because I think they can be labelled as well.
Yeah, because
they're the 1%. They don't, you know, they didn't cascade their money down, or their, you know, there's automatic judgments made about people that have money.
Well, I was making one that their money's easy to deal with. You know, it's them, the person, the personality, so I was kind of doing that
comes with that. But you know, the amount of generosity, has been absolutely mind blowing. The amount of generosity that we've had from a lot of your donors.
See, I've been ignorant to it. I would say that a lot of them, it's a box ticking exercise. It's getting their face. It's that accreditation. It says, we support them. And you think,
we kind of avoid those type of folk.
That's it.
If you're switched, you see them coming, you just
got to say,
we get a lot of people that are, just wanting to brush alongside Social Bite for whatever reason. And fair enough, but you don't use us as a stepping stone with your own agenda, because and your agenda's not really
it's
ending
like
homelessness.
You're saying, it's the Sonnies, it's the homeless people that's out there just taking the piss. You're looking for a bit of glory, a bit of ego, a tax dodge, whatever it is. But no, it's nice to hear that it's these guys, and that's where it starts, and that's the main agenda. Keep shoving that. I love that.
Yeah,
great.
Have you taken something out of this today then, Al?
Okay, too much. You know me, I've went quiet, that's me. Definitely, yeah. Because I've always been that person. I need to see it, I need to be able to touch it, feel it, I need to absorb the whole lot. You can't just tell me it. No, I need to experience it myself. So coming in, I wouldn't really know what Social Bite was. I know that they had the wee restaurants, the cafes, and they claim to do this and they claim to do that. But now that I can see that, no, he's the walking, talking proof that he's actually do. That's the difference. It's the doers that are out there. I can't remember. My wife says that there's the McTacs and the McDoos or something like that. And I thought
there's the McTacs and the McGee's.
The McGee's, I got it totally wrong. But mine's was even better because it's the McTacs and the McDoos, because the McDoos will fucking do it where the other ones will take it. And to me, Social Bite is the doers. They're doing the job. I know it's
no glamorous. It's no everybody thinks Social Bite's glamorous because you've had a few celebrities, but actually, it's probably the one of the most unglamorous.
That's it. How can it's trying to find glamour in something that is so like the wee man in the wee college video? He's on his arse. You didn't get much lower than that, and that's where you're dealing. That's where you're trying to prop and change that, and you think, well, that's where you've got to be. It has to start for the ground. I think there's that many lessons in life where things have went back to an absolute basic foundation. Although you have test pilots in Scandinavia, in Italy, and things. No, it's somebody else putting them together and say, look, let's put a fire under it and let's fucking get it going. Yeah. And no backing down, no being dragged away. Because I've saw the charities where their fundraising is topped in salaries, and that. Whoa, you went away off the wrong direction, And that's how when that door shut. That's where I was. I've saw this, and I've saw where charities will the biggest majority leave is in salaries and that. But what about the guy in the street?
There's something that. Sometimes I've looked at that and I've been outraged and thinking, how can you justify, having more money coming in than the First Minister? Do you know? But there's another angle that recently, I got thinking about, and it was like, well, actually, what is that? I was following this woman in particular, and I was like, what is she bringing that she's able to command £150,000 a year? Because it's like, I believe when it comes to charity work, it's really difficult because we've all got mouths to feed and we've all got, things to pay for. It's not all about it should just sit within the voluntary sector. I think people, if they're providing an excellent service, you should get paid well for it. But at the same time, I just was like, I can't justify that kind of, how the hell, I've worked in charity for years, but then when I watched her, what she brought to that charity, I mean, she scaled it up. She managed to pull in a hell of a lot more funds. She was actually worth a hell of a lot more than $150,000 a year. But I still didn't approve it. But I'm still at beef it. But it's what you bring. What you bring to something.
My biggest faux pas is the turn-ups. The people that turn up and want to get paid. And you're like, no, you've got to be invested. You've got to fucking get.
When I spoke about ending homelessness, you had people actually their veins in their neck. I was out the Blue Drill Hall. I'll never forget that talk. I'll just be quick with this. And it was a social worker, and I was like giving it the, we want to end homelessness. Da, 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 da. And she was outraged, and she was at the back of the hall, and she was like, "Who do you think you are?" And right away, it was like this. It felt as though I was back at school. The school teacher. I'm sorry. Who do you think you are? And she was like, "What about these jobs?" And I was like, "Oh my God, have we become that institutionalized? It's like this is a job to somebody they've never had to consider ending a social issue." And I just thought, we've got a lot of work ahead of us when it's people in jobs that are picking up a paycheck and not really looking at the bigger picture of where we're going with this.
Allan, like just even last week, seeing all these rich people spending all that money and stuff, things like that, and I was saying it's amazing, like George gets these people to do that, but that's what I was saying, some of them only come if they're getting paid lots of money, and I noticed that with that, they're sleeping, they've been done sleep in the park. Josh had to pay some of the people, the performers, quite a lot of money to come, basically.
Sonny, I'm glad you brought that, because it was a question I had. Like, I know what you have raised, I don't know if that's common knowledge, but I was wanting to ask that, Sonny, is like, what was the cost to raise that?
Well, basically, Josh, it's quite a good poll. He knows a lot of people and stuff, and 90% of them are genuinely there to help Social Bike, basically, and to do that good night out and to bid on things and that. So that's quite well organised and stuff. But I was just saying, like, how could some of them justify, like, coming here the night and wanting paid and that, and like, I'm on benefits and that, like,
that's a hypocrisy.
I think there's a difficulty when, you know, I noticed that there's been a lot of, even like with the sleep in the park, just to flag that, you know, quite interesting that it's like there's managers and they're really not interested. You might get a celebrity saying, you know, Josh, I'd do that for nothing, just give me a shout and I'll be there. I will be there. But then their manager's like, that's not going to be, that's not going to happen.
No,
that is not going to, this is the money.
Well, if he's gone there for nothing, I'm not getting my 7%. So
exactly. So it's when you've got to deal with managers, that can be a real difficulty. Some are totally fine, but others, they are commanding crazy money.
Wow.
And it's charity, and it's the fact that it's a charity.
You've got that one, and then you've got the one that's only doing it for the stunt.
Yeah, but
so
then you
if
look
you
at Glen
publicise
Eagles,
it, over here,
but you look at Glen Eagles, you know, nobody paid for a table at Glen Eagles.
That was a big shocker for me.
The table was free.
So Glen Eagles as a whole put that event on.
They put the event on. They put it on free, and they got
is
the suppliers.
Their
suppliers donated the food.
Wow!
Amazing.
And there was a suppliers table. So, you know, that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything. So there wasn't an outlay for us.
And the only promotion, because it wasn't as though it was, sponsored by da-da-da. It wasn't a big, massive thing, because it was kind of in-house and it was a closed room sort of thing. The only accreditation would have been amongst that room.
Yeah.
So they weren't doing it. They're like, look at me, look, we're doing eating the sausage rolls here. Look, there I was.
Amy McDonald.
She's amazing.
She's amazing. Yeah, it's the only one. It's the only one I've seen on social media who plugged it. You know, she went through the whole day going there, rehearsals, and then she put all that on social media. I have reached out to Amy McDonald, so hopefully we can get her on for a chat.
She's used to us being arsed for the elbow. She's used to us being arsed for the elbow. She's like, I think you can get food there. I will be there now. You need refreshments. It was, you know, but she is so down to earth, and she's been brilliant with us throughout the years.
Good.
I mean, she's been really good, and I think it was just amazing seeing her singing a few tunes, but also making a point when she was up for auction. So she was being auctioned at the event, and making it quite clear that, you know, don't bid if you're wanting to make a political statement, if you want to, you know, so she was very clear. Her ethics are really aligned with a lot of things that we do, but she's going to be, I think she raised 75,000. 75 grand for a few Amy's tunes. So I think she's going to
take her for a spin in your Ferrari.
Didn't tell the owner though.
Just didn't tell the owner.
I could auction her a paint or swapper. I'll dare a doodle for a shot in her car.
So I'm going to go around the houses, because that says about an hour and a half in. And I think we've covered everything that we need to cover there.
Enjoyed that.
So, I mean, I'm just going to go to you, Sonny, first, and I try and get a parting comment for everybody. So your camera's there. Whatever you want to say is whatever you want to say, son.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, guys, to highlight the problem with homelessness and that, and to give me a wee voice to help homeless people. If anybody wants to hear more about homelessness and stuff, come on my Crime and Punishment tour with Invisible Cities, and
show them the logo, son. Show them that. Get it out there.
Mine, we want to go on it.
I know. We've still.
James, Allan, that'd be good to take you on my tour. So If anybody wants to learn about homelessness and stuff about Edinburgh, please come to Crime and Punishment, Invisible Cities. And I'm an open book, as I say, so I'll answer any of the questions.
Brilliant. And Babs, same camera. If somebody needs Social Bites help or partners help, you know, if they see this, I'm thinking they'll no see this because they're on their knees.
Didn't ask for me.
Didn't ask for Babs. Perfect.
Ask for Sonny.
So, I know you've got a meeting, so I'm going to play us out with this. Keep your headphones on now. That was enlightening for me, by the way. I loved that. Thank you very much. I figured we'd end on a happy tune.
Definitely,
yeah. This is a good thing.
Sun's always out. Sonny's in the room.
No, it's really good. I've really enjoyed this. Love for Social Bite to do a wee bit more podcasting.
Definitely. Get the message out.
Your point.
Right, I'm going to say toodle pip for noon. Thank you, Social Bite, for letting us in the door.
And yes, Babs, we are available. I'll just say adios, amigo.